Notifications, don't you?
Hi.
All right, I think we're live.
Yep, we're live.
Cool. All right. How the hell's everybody doing? Man Cave Sports back with a NBA playoff edition. Just to I gotta close this. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay, sorry, I had to close that out because I'm hearing myself. Anyways, back here with a live edition of NBA playoff coverage. Two to three games in the books, depending upon each series. We're going to start out with the East and discuss that because to me, I don't know that the matchups are as intriguing. And we can go with the 1 versus 8, Cleveland and Miami, which has been an okay series. I mean, Miami certainly put up a lot of fight through the first couple of games, but obviously with Jimmy Butler no longer there, Tyler Hero, I think he had a rough game and it was a game 1, but nonetheless, Razor, what do you see in that series? I mean, I believe I picked Miami just because of the playoff experience, et cetera, to steal 1 game, but I don't think anybody has any disillusion that Miami's capable of winning that series.
Yeah, I mean they were put in a really difficult position this season. Jimmy Butler, who had led them to quite a bit of playoff success over the past couple of years, went full on toxic, which he's been doing to myriad franchises, including our favorite franchise, the Minnesota Timberwolves. So no big surprise that he was eventually going to turn on them, and he did. And so their season was put on kind of hold, I guess, waiting to figure out what happened with him. So I give them a lot of credit for even making the playoffs. They got into the play-in, I think, as the 9th seed, or it was the 10th, but they were able to win 2 games, and get into the 8th spot. But I don't think there's really any, as you said, no real illusions that they were going to win this series. I think getting there was really the accomplishment. And the Cavaliers have been the class of the league so far this season, along with OKC. And damn, they're consistent, 121 a game. And I think the closest game 2 was a 9-point win, but I think this series will probably end in a sweep, go no more than 5 games. But credit to the Heat for just being there. And the Cavaliers are just too much at this point. One thing I do want to mention, but Davion Mitchell, a guy that has been kind of forgotten about, known as a defensive guy, drafted by Sacramento. I think he ended up maybe in Toronto, and now he's in Miami, and I think he's playing well. And I had never been that impressed with him, but getting to see him now, it's like, whoa, Miami culture might be good for him. Heat culture, excuse me. But yeah, I don't think it's going to go much longer. I mean, four games, maybe 5. Gentlemen's sweep.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think of the series A and B? What do you think of the Cavaliers as they navigate their way, more than likely through this series and likely to take on in the next round? I mean, it's still kind of up in the air, but we'll talk a little bit about the Bucks and Pacers. But how do you think the Cavs look through 2 games so far? And does Miami have a chance to get back in this series?
The Cavs offense obviously is doing a trick, but I think what's spelling doom for the Heat right now has been turnovers, right? Double-digit turnovers both games. Cavs are single-digit turnovers because when you look at the series and the statistics are so close. You look right down the board at, shooting percentage and rebounds and all this other, it's like neck and neck, but then the score is different. So it's, when you take a look, okay, what's going on? It's really the turnovers that are kind of killing Miami right now. So I don't see, Miami being able to overcome this. I think there's just too much energy from the Cavs. So Miami, they got here, they made it. That's great. They got a little bit of cleanup work to do for the next season, pick up another piece. But yeah, the turnovers are dooming the Heat right now.
Yeah. So we'll move to the Boston Orlando series, which ironically I've watched both games. They were actually very entertaining games. Orlando was gritty. Banchero is playing lights out right now. He's fun to watch. He's definitely a future superstar. Franz Wagner, good as well. But I think going into these playoffs, everybody knew Orlando was probably going to be in trouble because Boston is Boston, has the playoff experience, but also with Wagner and Jalen Suggs out, two of their key players, they really don't have the firepower to give the Celtics a real series out of this. However, I will say this, through 2 games, and I know Tatum was out this last game, Orlando has been gritty. They've been playing good team ball. They got some young up and comers. And even though I expect Boston to win this, I think I predicted a sweep. I wouldn't be surprised if Orlando takes one of these next 2. And in fact, I think they start here shortly. Yeah, in a few minutes. But talk about that series. And I mean, is the Ramon, I'll go to you. Is the Tatum injury a concern? I don't know too much about it, but what do you think of this series?
Well, just,
and how you think?
I mean, just looking at the injury report, it doesn't look.
Razor.
What's that? Oh, I think there was some static there, but it looks like Tatum is going to play. He's not on the injury report tonight. Looks like Drew Holiday, though, one of my favorite players, is out for tonight in the very least. But I mean, again, I think this is one of those, hate to be pessimistic, hate to hate on the underdog here, but I mean, Orlando won 20 less games than the Celtics this year, dealt with all those injuries, still have a bunch of guys out. Jalen Suggs, as you mentioned, Mo Wagner, who's one of my least favorite players because he's such a flopper and kind of a dirty player. But, again, credit to the Magic for being there. But I think the Celtics I think they're going to win it all again. I mean, even though they were the number 2 seed and Cleveland ran away with the Eastern Conference, I think Boston's going to be the class of the league once again. They're just battle tested, so much talent, both offensively and defensively, and they're connected. So I don't think, Tatum's not on the injury list, so I think it's probably okay. But again, I think this series will go no more than 5 as well.
Steve.
Yeah, I think Boston's just got too much firepower. First game, the Magic couldn't keep up. They just don't have enough weapons on the Magic side. And then in the second game, the rebounding difference was in Boston's favor, and that's really what made the difference there. Is that Boston's, you give Boston extra possessions when you've got that level of skill they have on offense. You can't give up the extra possessions like that. 4 or 5 rebound difference is a big difference when it comes to, that can turn into, 8 to 12 points easily for Boston. So, I think Orlando is again, if they had another piece or 2, maybe next season is a different story. But, this year, I think they're just too much firepower on the Celtic side. Like you guys said, they're too connected. They're a really, really great team in which, you've got, everybody knows their role. Everybody knows what they need to do. One guy's off one night, you've got 3, 4, 5 different guys that can pick up the scoring. So too much firepower on Boston. I'd be surprised if it hit 5.
All right. Now we'll talk about the Knicks and the Pistons, which sees the Knicks up 2-1. Had a interesting game last night. Things are getting a little chippy in that series. Our old buddy Cat was in the heat of some things there. And even before that game, I can't remember if it was game 2. Those teams don't really like each other. And, New York's hard to figure out. They came out like gangbusters in game 1, and then only to game 2 kind of have a lull where Cat only shot 3 shots in the second half. Well, last night I was watching and he came out firing right away, hit a few shots. So, Tibbs is going to tip. He's coached Cat before, so I don't know what the hell he's doing. The same old thing with Tibbs coaching is, are these guys going to have the stamina to last this series? Because he loves to have a short rotation and run his guys minutes. But Cade Cunningham been very impressive all season. Some people have him first team All NBA. I would be surprised if he doesn't get at least second team. Some people have him in perhaps the top 5 of the league, but I think anybody can make an argument either way that he's probably in the top 10. very much a rising star. But Knicks up 2-1. Razor, what do you think of that series? And I think I picked the Knicks in 6, and I think this series will probably go 6 for sure. Could even go 7, but the Pistons definitely need to win this next game as they, are down 2-1.
Well, I often look at things, or maybe not often, maybe always look at through things from a Timberwolves lens. And so it's really fun to watch Cat doing his thing in the playoffs. I got to watch part of the game last night. I think he dropped 31. Looks like he's averaging close to 13 boards a game. He was hitting tough shots. He seemed to be making good decisions, which has often been kind of his Achilles heel. Also made a couple of good defensive plays as well. I mean, Cade Cunningham, who you mentioned, #1 pick overall a couple years ago. People said he was, a future franchise player, dealt with some injuries, had some really bad teams that he was on. And so I think people kind of forgot about him. But then he's really, really taken it up a notch this year. And just to watch him create offense against a team that's, built to stop him or planning to stop him. And he had an incredible move, and this is to tie into Cat too, but he made this incredible spin move on OG Anunoby, who's one of the best defenders in the NBA, kind of broke his ankles and spun in and looked like he might have a layup, and Cat came in and defended without fouling, went straight up, and Cunningham lost the ball, kind of got blocked, and it led to a very important fast break layup for Jalen Brunson. So yeah, I agree with you. These games are really competitive. And it's getting heated, and Isaiah Stewart's not even playing. So the the next thing I mean, you could see a fight breaking out at some point, because it seems like every other play that I've seen, dudes are getting pissed at each other. And that's the playoffs. But the Pistons are definitely into that brand of basketball, and they're definitely embracing that brand of basketball. But it's good to see Cat doing his thing again from the Timberwolves lens. And the Knicks are my second favorite NBA team, thanks to my uncle. But yeah, I think it'll go 6, but I still think the Knicks are going to handle this one.
Steve, I'm not sure if you caught our old friend Malik Beasley was 2 of 10, I believe, last night from 3. What are your thoughts on the Knicks Pistons series?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to, really our old buddy Cat. The one loss that they did have, they kind of erased Cat a bit. He had 10 points. He only had 6 boards. They really made an effort to, keep him out of the action, right? He really wasn't that impactful. And when Cat's not impactful for that Knicks team, that causes problems, because he is a big part of the rebounding and a big part of the offense, right? Like, the reason why they made the trade is because they didn't quite have enough last year, and you can't just leave it on Brunson and, DiVincenzo cracking threes and stuff, and Brunson, playing 40 plus minutes every night, and it just doesn't work out for a long run. So it's going to be all about Cat. I think if Cat can be, double digit boards, and he can get if he can get a double every night, I think it's over for the Pistons. It might go 6, but I don't see the Pistons being able to take this as long as Cat's if Cat's being Cat, I don't see the Pistons being able to get past them.
Yeah, the Knicks are interesting to watch. I mean, you think of what they gave up for Mikal Bridges. Mitchell Robinson has I forget which game it was, had a nice game in the mix there. OG. I mean, the Knicks definitely are built to do damage in the playoffs this year. So it'll be interesting to see. I do think they get out of this round and move on to the second round. So we will conclude the East with our last matchup. That would be the Pacers and the Bucks. And we saw the return of Dame Lillard. Obviously, game 1, there was a lot of jawing between him and Hallie. And been an interesting series so far. I mean, the Bucks really looked like crap in the first game. And they kind of remind me of the Timberwolves. They get themselves in such a hole early, and they're fighting the rest of the game to get themselves out of it. Giannis has played well. I thought Dame looked pretty damn well for somebody that hasn't played in a month, or what, 3-4 weeks, whatever it's been. So Pacers are up 2-0. Go back to Milwaukee tonight. I can't remember what I predicted on this one. I think I picked the Bucks in 6 or 7. But yeah, I saw this statistic this week. I believe teams that go up 2-0 in the NBA playoffs that win 92% of those series. So I mean, the Bucks are in, they're in trouble, obviously. Razor, what do you think of that series so far, and how do you think it's gonna end up going?
Well, I've told you guys this, but the Milwaukee Bucks are the only Wisconsin team in existence, whether it be college level, high school level, pro level, that I support. The rest, no thank you. So this bugs me a little bit to see the Bucks struggling as much as they are. And I hate to say it, but it kind of looks like, they got their ring, which amazing. Huge props to them for doing that, but it looks like the window is kind of shutting on this team. It just seems like whenever you think they might be figuring something out, a key player gets hurt. Lillard was able to come back. He played, I think, his first game in several weeks, and I think did okay. Was largely, I think, inefficient, but first game back after so long, huge. But I think I heard Kuzma's been shut down for the playoffs, and he's been starting for them. And I think I read some people were kind of happy that he might be out because I don't know if he's
Yeah,
been
I
playing
think
well,
that
but he's still
you
a
might have gotten
starter.
you might have gotten Sentelled. I don't think he's shut down for that, but he should be. But
Oh,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yes, you got Sentelled.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
But yeah, no, he played 20 minutes, had no points and no rebounds in game one. Had a couple of buckets the last game, but yeah, I mean, Kuzma was
Oh
who
boy.
was the guy that he matched? Was it Sneed? Who was the? Yeah, anyways, I mean, he had one of the most futile performances in playoff history. So
Oh
everybody's
geez.
but
Okay.
yeah, I
I
think
got
he's
I
still
got
playing.
duped.
You got duped. I think he's still playing, but I mean, I would say that Bucks fans would love for him to get shut down. And think about this. I mean, Bobby Portis, he came back a few weeks ago. I was at the game. He came back, man. He's a lightning rod for them, and he had a real rough game in the first game. So I mean, I
Yeah.
just think the Bucks came out a little discombobulated. I thought, they played a decent game the other night, although lost it. But yeah, sorry to step on you there, but
No,
continue,
no.
Razor.
If I'm wrong, hey, stop me. Please stop me from embarrassing myself as much as I already did. But yeah, I mean, the Pacers just, it seems like, I think last year too, they were a surprise in how effective they were in the playoffs. And it looks like they're ready to go again. I mean, guys like Andrew Nemhard shot like 29% from three, is dropping step backs in game one and step back threes. So I think I picked the Bucks to win this in 6 or 7, and I don't think that's going to happen anymore. It looks like it's going to be Indiana.
Mr. Steve, I believe we have a bet for a 6-pack of beer on this series, and it's not looking good for yours truly. Um, Good thing is I don't think you're well, you have decent beer selection, so I don't think it'll be too expensive if I have to uh buy you any. But what's your take on the Bucks and Pacers through two? And I think they play here in an hour. That's the other game at 7, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a situation that you look at the starters for Indiana, like last game, all 5 of them were in double digits for points. The Bucks have got, Portis is lights out, but he's coming off the bench. But you got Tayshaun Prince and Kuzma, who really, aren't, combined they might get to double digit points. And so I mean it's one of those things. I just don't think that Milwaukee's got enough firepower. Dame Lillard, if he'd been able to come back maybe a month sooner or a couple of weeks sooner to get round into playoff basketball shape and get going, it could be completely different series, right? Because he is a different kind of creature. But that's a lot to ask for that guy to come just step right into game 2 and somehow be the savior of the series for the Bucks. I just think that not enough horses on Milwaukee side, not enough guys that are providing meaningful contributions. When you've only got 3, maybe 4 guys that can get to double figure scoring, and the other team's entire starters are all getting double digit plus, and you're not going to make it. So I don't think it's the Bucks year. I think they got to get somebody, another supporting cast member for Dame and Giannis there. But I called the Pacers. I'm going to stick with it. I don't see anything to change that yet.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting is Giannis have just 1 year left on his contract. There's talk if they get bounced in the first round here. I mean, there might be some shakeups in Milwaukee. But yeah, I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, Giannis has still got some basketball left in him, as do Dame, but they're not spring chickens anymore either. So that team's built to win now. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully hopefully tonight's game's interesting. I definitely would like to see it go at least 6 or 7 just for the entertainment value. Before we talk about the West, let's talk about the officiating in this first round, because I'll tell you what, I've watched a lot of games, and man, there's just been some crazy calls. I know last night there was that they didn't call the over and back on Brunson. I've had people explain it to me that he was in the air and then he landed on the other side. You know what I mean? It's just been crazy. But what are your guys' thoughts on the officiating? Because I mean, we saw it in game 2 of the Lakers and Timberwolves. I mean, they had a happy whistle. There's just been some bad calls and it just, I don't know. It's been all over the board. I think not necessarily favoring teams per se, but it seems like the fans are very pissed at the officiating through these first few games for every series. Razor.
Reffing, it's hard. You know, the passion of a fan, it's hard to overcome. I mean, there are games where I am thinking my favorite team is getting screwed by the refs, and then I look at the stats and I'm like, whoa, the Wolves actually got more foul calls and more free throw attempts than the other team did. But I would say that my frustration really lies in all the flopping that doesn't the league doesn't seem to care to police. These, like Brunson, for example, is going, super physical offensively. And when he plays defense, he's super physical. But if you even breathe on him, he's going down. SGA, same thing. LeBron James, we all saw that clip where he got hit, but he went down like, a ton of bricks. And he's like, they had the camera on him. He's like looking up, he's totally fine. He's just selling it. And I mean, I don't know what the league can do, but I think they said that they would start assessing technicals. Um, I feel like what they need to do is just have like a review board after games. And if you flop, you get fined immediately. And then there becomes like maybe a tally of how many flops you have. And eventually you get 5, 10, whatever. I don't know how many it is. You start suspending guys because it's ridiculous what goes on. And it's hard for the refs in game, I think, sometimes because these guys are I mean, they're terrible actors when they're on screen, but when they're on the basketball court, they're tremendous actors, at least a lot of them, or they're good enough to fool the refs. Um, but it has to stop. It's not fun watching these guys just hunt fouls all game long and get rewarded for it.
No,
And then I mean, and Luka, I know I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but he got ripped by Rudy in game 2, turns around and just screams at the ref demonstratively, no technical. Like, so it's like, what is happening here? So that's really my frustration, is the flopping and how it's rewarded, and then it's never really punished either.
Yeah, and I mean, we're diehards, but I feel bad for the casual fans or the novices that come to watch an NBA game or the playoffs. Let me watch this, or people that may not watch it regularly like us, and they see that and it turns them off.
Mhm.
Especially if you grew up, watching basketball in the '90s like we all did, which was a totally different brand. So I will say this, just like you look at the Knicks and the Pistons, some of these series, man, it's starting the physicality and the chippiness is reminding me of '90s basketball, and I'm loving it. So, kind of a catch-22. Mr. Steve, what do you think about the officiating so far?
Yeah, I think it's the tallies, when we look at that, sometimes they're misleading, right? Because, you can have a situation where, the one team should be getting that many fouls because of what they're doing. But I think it is difficult for referees because, if you look at how SGA plays, right, he's typically slower when he's going in. He's got slower movements than Ant does. When you look at their 2 games, Ant's super explosive. He flies, through 3, 4, 5 people. And, he just goes and he makes a dunk or he makes an impressive layup. And, so because of the speed and the power, it's hard to catch the foul right away, right? Because he's going through a crowd of people, whereas SGA a lot of times will be singled up on somebody and he might technically get the foul without even flopping because it was a foul. So I get that it's hard for the refs, but I think like Razor said, when you've got guys that are, like Luca, not to get ahead of ourselves, like you said, but he's going up straight up, Rudy's straight up, and then he jumps into Rudy's chest, and Rudy's like straight up in his cylinder. I mean, stuff like that is ridiculous. LeBron James, I mean, anybody who wants to call him the GOAT is ridiculous because, Jordan wasn't flopping on the ground. You hit Jordan for real, he was coming after you, right? He wasn't that Mr. Floppy guy. It's starting to look like European soccer. You know what I mean? Like the Euro leagues where guys are just like, they fall down, you swear that somebody shot them with a sniper rifle in the leg. They act like they snapped a tibia, then they don't get the call, then they get up and they keep running. And it's just ridiculous. And it's bad for the game. So yeah, I think like Ramon here said is we've got to get start assessing some fines, allow maybe a couple challenges here and there. Like the other night, they called DiVincenzo when he got pushed in the back by LeBron. So yeah, the flopping is what's killing the sport. So the refs really need to get it figured out because they're allowing too much physicality in some cases where the teams aren't. The teams are going to end up being super physical and have problems, but then they swing back too far the other way, and they call inconsistently because they're trying to get things under control. So, yeah, I think it's a twofold problem, but you just got to be good enough to play through it.
All right, let's move along to the West, and we can start with the 8-versus-1 matchup. OKC obviously having a somewhat historical season. Great talent there. I'll tell you what, I was telling somebody this recently. They're probably set up for success as well as any franchise in the 4 men's majors right now. I mean, they got so much draft capital, they got young talent, but interestingly enough, they're up 3-0, but man, they blew out the Grizzlies in the first game. The second game was a little more competitive, but I mean, nonetheless, they got the win last night, down by 29, and they came back. And I mean, what they win by like 8 or 9. I mean,
6.
there was like a there's like a 30. There's like oh my god, like a 35-point swing. And I mean, the sad thing is, once Ja went down, and I don't think it was dirty per se. I mean, people have been debating about it on the interweb all day, but once Ja went down, man, that game was over. And I mean, I haven't even looked at today what my assumption is he's out for game 4.
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, so I mean,
I think so. I might have gotten sent out again. I don't know.
Yeah, stick a fork in them. And I actually thought that Memphis would probably. I think I did it on the prediction tweet that you put up, Razor. I predicted that the Grizzlies were going to steal game 3, and they damn near did and should have. But once Ja got hurt, I mean, it's over for them. And it's I'm not going to say it's sad to see, but I think that's a talented team. I mean, hell, they were second, third seed for a good portion of the season until things started falling apart. They fired their coach, etc. And let's be honest, Ja's not necessarily the most likable player in the NBA, but I mean, he's talented. He's got game. I mean, his athleticism, honestly, I'm biased towards Anthony Edwards and his athleticism, but I would say if Ant isn't first, then Ja's, you know what I'm saying? I look at Ja's perhaps the most athletic player in the NBA next to Anthony Edwards. And like I said, there's some questions about his character, et cetera, but the talent and the athletic ability is just insane. But I don't think anybody's surprised that OKC is going to take this series. I just wish it would have been a little more competitive because as good as OKC is, I mean, the rest of these series are probably going to go, 6 games or so. And OKC gets to sit back and just, rest with their home court advantage and not have to worry about being dragged through anything at this point. So, Razor, what do you think about the Grizzlies and the Thunder?
I mean, you touched on a lot of it. It's really too bad what's happened to Memphis. I mean, both long-term and short-term. They looked like they were going to be swept easily, and then they came out just ripping and roaring last night and jumped out to a huge lead. Looked like they were going to walk away with it, and then that unfortunate play happened in which Ja Morant got undercut by Lu Dort. As you said, it's debatable whether it was cheap or not. I'm going to lean toward not. It looked like he did slip. So we can't really say what his intent was there, but the outcome was Ja went down, didn't return, and that was really the end of the game. I mean, credit to the Thunder for not giving up, but the Grizzlies and turning up their defensive pressure. But without Ja, they just can't create shots as easily. And I mean, Zach Edey, I think Mr. Steve, you're a big Zach Edey guy. Am I correct on that?
I
I
don't,
think he's playing
I
too
don't, I'm
much.
not a fan of his. I didn't like him when he was at Purdue, but
Oh, okay, okay.
I recognize that that he could be a problem. So
Yeah, but I think he's playing too much, and I don't know if it's because they don't have options. I mean, Aldama's doesn't seem to be able to hit shots right now, but it's just too bad what's happened to that franchise. They looked like they were, I mean, while it helps the Timberwolves, it looked like they were maybe on the cusp of becoming one of those like that young next great team situation, and now it looks like they might be a team that might be broken up soon. I mean, with Ja's off-court problems, all the injuries, and then they kind of hit the panic button, I think, this season with firing their coach just right before the playoffs started or a couple weeks before the playoffs started, a highly successful coach that had dealt with a lot of injuries. It's too bad to see what's happened to that franchise. I feel bad for their fan base.
Yeah, they have a pretty good fan base. I know it's one of Ant's favorite places to play. When the Wolves played him in the playoffs 3 years ago, he commented on how much he loves playing there just because the fans give him a hard time, etc. Mr. Steve, what are your thoughts on the Grizzlies and the Thunder?
I think that OKC's defense is just too much, right? You got to have the ability to counteract that, right? And you got to have the right combination of speed and physicality to counteract their defense, and you got to have enough shooters to be able to make them pay when they're over rotating or they're going out and trying to run people off the line. You've got to be able to rotate that ball quickly yourself and have somebody that can make them pay. And OKC, they are one of the top defensive teams, and that's why they could do that giant comeback is because they've got the ability to do that. I mean, SGA might be a bit of a flopper, but he is a good defender. He's up there in steals. I mean, he's top 5 in steals this year. So he is a good defender, and you've got a lot of that's kind of how they built their identity a bit was around the ability to defend. So and Memphis, Zach Edey may be something better in the future, but right now he's just not adjusting to the NBA. I thought he was going to be better adjusted in the NBA than he is. I probably give him more credit at the beginning of the season, but the Grizzlies just don't have enough to counteract the defense that OKC has. Their defense is going to be a problem for people all season long. And then the potent combination is that when they get hot, they can score with anybody. You can line them up with the Warriors and have SGA and Steph go back and forth shooting threes, and it'll be even. So too much defense from OKC. That's what's going to shut the door and now let Jaws out. It's over.
Yeah, I would venture to say that Game 4 will be the finale of that series. All right, let's talk about the 2 and the 7. You got Houston, upstart young team, against Golden State, who acquired Jimmy Butler. Huge, significant trade, biggest. Well, I won't say the biggest trade. I think the Luka one was definitely the biggest trade during the trade deadline action. But I think a lot of people picked Golden State. I mean, it's very rare you see so many people pick a 7 versus a 2, but I will say through 2 games, it's been a very intriguing series, made even more so by Jimmy Butler's injury, because let's be honest, as much as this group of individuals are not fans of the man that is Jimmy Butler, we do respect his game. We know what he's capable of doing in the playoffs. And you saw that in Game 1. And, Steph Curry. So I don't know that Golden State's that deep. There's a couple other players, and let's be honest, everybody outside of San Francisco despises Draymond Green, and you saw him flopping the other day too. But it's an interesting series, and I have to say that the Jimmy Butler aspect really puts a question mark to me. I believe I picked Golden State. I'd have to look at it. I know I picked Golden State to win the series, but man, I think even if he does come back here, that thing's going to be lingering. So Razor, what do you think about this series? To me, man, it's still kind of a throw up, and a lot of it's going to be depending upon Jimmy's health.
Real quick, just wanted to touch on something. We talked earlier about Giannis and how much time he had left on his contract. He has 2 more years left on his deal after this season, and then a player option for the 27-28 season. So but I think he can he can start demanding out of there if he chooses to. But to get to the series, the Rockets and the Warriors, yeah, I mean everything changed now, right? With this Jimmy Butler injury. Sounds like it's something. I mean, I think he's listed as day-to-day questionable, but this is, I think Mike, you might have posted something that this is a 1 to 3 week recovery time for this type of injury.
Yeah,
And
it's generally, but I know who was it? Curry and Kuminga had, and I think they missed like 2 games each, something of that effect. I mean, obviously, the playoffs sometimes these guys are going to come back where they want in the regular season. So I mean, I think Jimmy's probably a 50-50 for game 3, but either way, he's not going to be nearly as effective with that thing lingering.
right. Well, and this Houston team is super athletic. They're young, for the most part. And so if he's even limited at all, that's going to be a tall order to overcome. And if Steph has to do it by himself, I think they're going to have some major problems. But I think for Houston, it really comes down to the consistency of Jalen Green. I think
Yep.
he had a tough game 1 and they lost. Game 2, he was very good from what I understand, and they won. And I feel like that's been kind of the case for several years now in his career. Like I think he kind of had a breakout this year, but he still struggles with consistency. And that it's not a team that I don't think they score a ton of points. They rely on their defense a lot. They don't have a ton of shot creators on the perimeter. And he is it, I think, for in terms of a shot creator on the perimeter. And so comes down to him, but without Jimmy Butler, I think I picked Houston to win this series, I believe in 6 or 7. I think that the path just got a little bit easier without Jimmy Butler, as much as I'm not a fan. I mentioned his toxicity earlier. The dude is a great player. I will not take that away from him. And he gets even better in the playoffs. So for them not to have him, Golden State's got some problems.
Yeah, and like I said, Houston looks good. Sengun, he's a beast. But man, I'll tell you what, if they can get the Brick brothers, Brooks and Van Vliet going, they could be trouble. They could be trouble in this playoffs. But we'll see. And I'm not a Dylan Brooks fan, obviously, but he's got some game. He pokes bears. Mr. Steve, what are your thoughts on the Rockets and Warriors?
Notwithstanding the Jimmy Butler injury, obviously that's huge, and that can swing the, if he can't go one, or if he has to skip 2 games, that could be, make a difference in the series. So obviously that's a big issue. But the Brick brothers, obviously they're not doing a ton, but really, Green went off for 8 threes. You're not going to get that all the time. So maybe there's a little bit of a balance there, but turnovers again, to be the stat guy, the team that lost had 5 more turnovers than the team that won. And when you got when Houston's struggling a little bit offensively to kind of find their rhythm for making their shots. I mean, Jalen Green went off, but the rest of the team is not quite there. We're all, we're all 100, around 100-point mark there. So turnovers, providing Jimmy Butler can come back and play, I think the turnover battle is going to make the difference here. Green may get his, but I think the turnovers is the key. You give Steph Curry 2 or 3 more shots, that's a 9-point swing. So it's really going to be dependent on who takes care of the ball. And then, can Houston find a way to harass Steph enough to shut him down? Right. Because without Jimmy Butler, that's really the main offense they have. So, we'll see.
Yeah, I picked the Warriors to win this in 7. I won't deviate from that, but I do think out of all the series I've watched so far, this is the one that I still think either way is going to go to 7 games. I'll be shocked if it doesn't. But high drama, it's going to be, entertaining one. So excited about that. All right, let's talk about the 4-5 matchup. The Denver Nuggets, are good buddies, and the Clippers. And Clippers find themselves up 2-1. They came home last night and destroyed them. My observations, I believe I picked Denver in 6. I'm a little nervous about that pick, to be honest with you. And my main reason why, maybe it's just me and these 3 games, but Denver, their defense is atrocious from what I can see, at least to my eye. I think there's statistics to back it up for me, but man, it has been tough to watch. And I mean, Jamal Murray's, played decent. He's hit some clutch shots. Joker's Joker, man. To me, he might be the best overall player in the game. I mean, you can make a case for Shea, Giannis, maybe Luka when he's healthy, but to me, Joker is just a big game changer, and you can see his frustration on the sidelines too. I mean, they just fired their coach 2 weeks ago, so it's kind of a mess in Denver. I expect them to win this. I'm not saying they can't still, but I'll tell you what, until somebody can stop Kawhi, they're in trouble. Razor.
Yeah, I mean, first two games were close, right? I mean, 2-point Denver win in game one, 3-point Clipper win in game two. Then you go to LA and you lose by 34. Denver scores 83 points. And as you said, Jokic was, I mean, he's starting to get really, really vocal and agitated, it seems, lately. And that team also, I think, as much as they say there was a lot of drama going on behind the scenes for a year plus, I mean, to fire your coach and your GM 3 or 4 days before the playoff starts, or 3 to 4 games before the playoff starts, I mean, you pretty much just sunk your ship right there. I mean, maybe it was already sunk, but you definitely sunk it then. And you're just trying to regroup for next season. And I don't think they're getting out of this series. The Clippers, Kawhi, he still got it when he can play. I mean, that's the whole thing. The guy just has so much issue getting on the court due to all of his injuries. But when he's out there, he's still something special. And I had, watching, I think it was game two, I was like, wow, I forgot how good this guy is.
Yeah.
Like, what an incredible player he is. I mean, Hall of Fame level for sure player, but one of the best of this generation. And I think people don't talk about that enough. And I know I haven't thought about that enough. So the Clippers, I think they're going to take this series. Again, too bad. I have several friends that are Nuggets fans, and it's kind of sad to see this happening to them, because they too seemed like a team that was, going to be around for a long time. And then now, I mean, they're, whoever their ownership is making some changes there that I don't know if it's a recipe for long-term success. And you have the Joker, so you're always going to have a chance with a guy like him. But yeah, it just doesn't look good for the Denver Nuggets.
Mr. Steve.
Yeah, I think the big thing there is Kawhi coming back to form here that we haven't seen in a while, and being looking like he did when he was with Toronto, right? I mean, he's looking pretty good, but I think the problem for the Nuggets when we compare last year's team to this year's is that everything has to run through Jokic in order to make it work, right? If Jokic isn't getting double-digit assists, then they've got problems. And I understand, they got Westbrook or whatever, plus minus. Some days it's a plus, some days it's a minus because he does his weird things. But you still got, Gordon and Murray and Braun and some of those same guys that were there last year, right? And they just don't have the same offense that they did. And they're just not as good a defensive team. Jokic playing 40 plus minutes every night, that's not going to work. He's got to be literally like the point guard. You got to give him the ball top of the key there, or right there in the paint so that he can distribute and go with it. And I think they have a very stagnant offense. Everybody knows you don't let Jokic get off for, double-digit assists, then you can beat the Nuggets. And the Nuggets have never this season found another way to win without him being that kind of player where he's, pushing a triple-double every night. So I think that's the biggest problem, is that they've kind of lost their identity. They lost who they were last year. They can't move the ball. It's all got to run through Jokic. And, if you let Jokic, like we did, you let Jokic score 50 points, great. You shut everybody else down, you won the game. So I think that's the biggest problem. I'd pick Denver too. I didn't think that the Clippers had enough to beat them, but the stagnant offense for Denver is what's going to doom them.
Yeah, and lack of defense, but we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna necessarily say I'm not changing my pick, but yeah, that Denver in 6 is looking a little shaky right now, to say the least. All right, last one up, and this one's personal to us. Sounds like some of us might be there Sunday for the next game. And our good buddy Brett, who is not here tonight. He is down at he is down at First Avenue right now. Um, getting ready, getting lubed up, I'm sure, as he is wont to do. For tonight's tilt, 8:30, 2 hours from now. 8:30 against the Lakers. There's so much we can talk about with this series, and obviously, uh, you know, our unbiased take with the Wolves is going to be a little different for the viewers there. But to me, the one thing that I can't get over with out of these first two games, which both were kind of weird. I mean, the Wolves jumped on them in game one, came out swing, or not jumped on them, but I mean, they had a very decisive victory. Game two, they sat played from behind, but the start of the two games, I mean, the Wolves have come out atrocious in the first quarter of both of those games. I mean, the game one, they were able to overcome it once they started getting the Doncic coverage figured out on the pick and rolls, etc. But man, game two, I mean, they put themselves in such a hole that they pretty much fought the rest of the game trying to get it down from 20. So, Razor, what are you expecting to see tonight? I believe most of us, we all picked Wolves in six. I still think that's possible. I'm hoping Drake does not give us bad karma because I see he just placed a $620,000 bet on the Wolves to beat the Lakers tonight. But I mean, what's your take after two? I mean, we talked about it too on a show the other night after game one. We were all on cloud nine, but game two was just kind of deflating.
Yeah, it's just what are you going to get out of this team? You know, that's what we've been talking about all season through our 10, 15 episodes of our Wolves show. Who are you going to get? Game one, they shoot 50% from three. Their defense is tremendous. They hold them to, I think, 95 points. Lakers had been, consistently scoring high numbers. Game two, they shoot 20% from three. And credit to the Lakers, they picked up their defense. They were more physical. They were really getting into the airspace of the Wolves wing players. And I think which helped cause some of the offensive fouls that Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo committed, which pretty much took both of them out of the game. I mean, both guys were committed a couple of offensive fouls earlier and reached in a few times. And I mean, as much as we complain about the refs, I mean, I think the calls on their offensive foul calls were legitimate calls. They were sticking their hands out into people's faces, whatever it might have been. But which team's going to show up? I think the good news is that in both games, the Wolves defense was tremendous. I think they scored 95 and 94 points. And despite the horrifyingly bad numbers, shooting numbers for the Wolves in game two, that game was still there to be taken. That was there. It just seemed like whenever the Wolves were ready to like really get the lead down to like 5, 4, 6, whatever, where you were like, oh, where they're right there, they're right there. They'd commit some kind of like unforced turnover. I think Naz Reid had a play where he spun in right in front of the hoop, just lost it. Ant was dribbling up court, went behind his back, lost it. And so it just they're just so hard to predict what they're going to do. I do think, and after such a great shooting performance in game one, there was really we couldn't be really expect them to shoot that well. They were going to regress, but to regress that much was kind of like it was a kick down low, right? But that said, I think they're going to shoot better. I think their defense is going to still remain strong. Hopefully, the referees won't play a role in this game too much. Hopefully, they will allow physicality and that they will call it evenly. And I mean, I don't think my real trouble in game one, or excuse me, game two, I don't think the refs were that terrible. And I know a lot of Wolves fans are going to hate me for saying that because I mean, the numbers say that, I would say.
Yeah.
But the part about like when Luka got ripped by Rudy and just berated a ref demonstratively and doesn't get a technical, that's just wrong. I mean, and if one of our guys, Anthony Edwards or anybody behave that way, I I'd be like, dude, he deserves a tech. I'd be like, how could he not get one? And he didn't get one. And he'd been working them all game. He works them every game. So I just don't understand why that gives you a longer leash to behave like that. It just doesn't. That bugs
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Mr. Steve, how are we feeling about tonight's game and this series as a whole, or even any additional reflections from the first two?
Yeah, I did not hold my tongue, as you guys know, when we were, on our little chat line there. I kind of was ripping away on the coach, and the players weren't helping my case out much either. We JJ Redick said after game one, we got out physical. We didn't match their intensity, this and that. And what they come out and do game two, they up their physicality, they up their intensity. They're throwing in full court press. They were doing everything they could to make life difficult for us. Right. And we didn't really adjust well. I mean, we fought back because we are a better defensive team than them. The only time the Lakers score under 100 points, even all season, has been against us, right? We have the magic elixir for them when it comes to their offense. That's a stat that I think they only scored less than 100 points, like maybe, less than 10 times, and 3 or 4 of them were against us. So we play great defense against them. We match up well, as much as people, and including myself, get frustrated with the Rudy on Doncic matchup. We do match up pretty well with them defensively. But that being said, players being idiots, and on our team, they Nas and DiVincenzo just getting sucked into the BS, which is, they did that really well of not getting sucked in game one, when things get chippy and Vando was trying to cause problems and whatnot. They did a good job of staying focused, staying on the path. Game two, they didn't. They let their emotions get the better of them. They made stupid mistakes. That being said, I'm not changing my opinion with Mr. Finch. He's a good coach. He's not a great coach. We've had the same problem all season long, starting slow. All season long, we start slow. We have basically a negative point differential for the entire season in the first quarter, and I think we're like a minus 36 or something right now for over these 2 games in the first quarter, and that it's hard to come back night after night when you dig yourself a 10, 15, 20. I give them credit. They had good defense, and they're trying to get back, but the shots weren't falling, and so they couldn't climb out of that hole. They've got to stop starting slow, and I think that starts with Mr. Finch. He's got to do something to get that changed. A couple games is a pattern, but this is a trend. That this is behavior. This is who they are. He hasn't broken that yet. He hasn't changed that. He hasn't done anything to change that. When your starters are coming out and walking the ball up and down the court, you're playing right into LA's hands. Luka's not in that great physical shape. We all know this. We call him Hookah Luka for a reason, right? He likes to smoke it up, drink it up, and have a good time. He's a hell of an offensive player, but he doesn't have the stamina to keep running with us. LeBron's 40. It's amazing what he's doing at 40 years old, but you get him running up and down the court, his legs are going to go. His jump shot's going to fall off, and that's going to make it more difficult. We have to come out strong, and we have to come out fast. Finch needs to fix it. Whether that's sending a message and starting people that maybe don't normally start, or having a short hook like we talked about all season long. If we keep starting out slow, we put ourselves in a position to lose, because it's hard to come back every night when you're down 10, 15 points. They've got to get out to a faster start. They get out to a faster start, I think we'll be okay. And that plays into our hands. But if we don't, it's going to be a grueling series.
Yeah, and you saw Finch make a few adjustments that were, I'm not going to say surprising per se, but I think Conley got the early hook. I think he got pulled with like three minutes into the game. But then we also saw TSJ time, which was kind of surprising, because historically the last few weeks, Jalen Clark was that first one behind, the 9 after the established 8. But I know, Steve, you were probably happy to see TSJ. He didn't look like the moment was too big for him. I thought he was a bright spot. So perhaps to see a little more of him tonight. I think, and Ramon, you pointed out, I think he got one foul. Luka drew a foul on him, which was legit. But I mean, outside of that, I thought he played pretty good minutes.
Yeah. They weren't hiding him either, like he was guarding Luka, he was guarding LeBron a lot, and I thought LeBron was going to go at him, and he really didn't. And TSJ was definitely a bright spot. And I mean, I know plus minus isn't an end all be all stat, but he was one of 2 players to have a plus be above 0. He was +7 in 7 minutes. The only other guy who was a plus was Nickeil Alexander-Walker at +8. So
Yeah,
Good for TSJ.
I was happy to see TSJ. I think they need to inject him more. His size and physicality he's fearless when it comes to driving downhill and getting to the bucket. And I think that's important. You don't have to give him a ton of minutes, but if we could get him some more minutes, inject him here and there, especially when the team's, lagging, that would be fantastic. The one thing I did not enjoy seeing on Friday, though, or excuse me, on the fourth quarter of the last game, is the lineup that we were going with in the fourth quarter when we're that close. Why is DiVincenzo not in the game? Like, I don't think he played at all in the fourth quarter. Like zero. I think he subbed out right away. I went back and I'm like, where's he been? And I looked and I'm like, he doesn't have any play. Nothing's going on. Why DiVincenzo, when you're that close and 1 or 2 threes can make a difference, is not in the game? I don't understand it. He had 4 fouls. Yeah, but it's the fourth quarter. Who cares? Let him go. He wasn't in the game. You stuck with Conley. You stuck with Rudy. One of our most offensively effective units has been when DiVincenzo and Nah and Jaden and Nas, and Randall are out there. DiVincenzo's out there. That's one of our most effective offensive units when we run fast like that, and we didn't take advantage of it. Right? You couldn't have had that group get together for 3, 4, 5 minutes just to try to get over the hump and try to push it over, and then bring Rudy back in. But yeah, those are the things that drive me nuts with bench is when you see adjustments. Where it's like I don't understand why he thought leaving Conley out for so many minutes in the fourth quarter was it, and then. When he pulled him, he put in Nah, which is fine, but keeping DiVincenzo on the bench, I don't think was the right choice.
Yeah. Well, remains to be seen tonight. I mean, neither of the games were similar. 1 and 2, they were totally different. So who knows what we'll see tonight? I can tell you this, having been in the house that KG built in Minneapolis, that place will be electric to me. And I think a lot of the players, even on opposing teams, would agree. I truly believe the Timberwolves fan experience is amongst the top 5 as far as crowds. You know what I mean? That place is going to be lit tonight. The crowd's going to be active and excited to possibly go to game 4 on Sunday. I'm really leaning towards it. Razor, I know you'll be there. Our buddy Brett will be there, but yeah, definitely going to look to do that. So with that, this place is getting crowded. I believe the meat raffle starts in 10 minutes. So but gentlemen, I appreciate it. Those of you
Thanks, Mike.
appreciate it. And we will be back again soon. You guys, I will be texting to and fro all frickin' night. So we'll see how the night goes. Go Wolves.
Go Wolves.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.